So despite starting off in a very, very different orientation, they have found a similar-ish position at top of their backswing. Well, what about impact? Would that change? So one of the things that always fascinates me looking at golf swings is what really was the influence of this particular movement. We can have many different influences in golf swings. We could have the club we're using, the environment or the situation. Maybe we could have a physical issue at that point in time. We can even have ball position influence in movement, and that's what we're looking at in this case. We got the same player. There's a mid handicap to high handicap club golfer. They're hitting the same club above and below. However, below we've moved the golf ball about 2 golf balls back in their stance. Now, that's not the normal position they have it in. The normal is above. So if we look at the setup position, has anything changed? Well, we have a little change in the thoracic side bend. Now, thoracic side bend is just basically, let's keep it nice and simple, the tilt of the shoulders at setup. So we have about 14 degrees above. Below, we have only 9 degrees. So about a 4 degree, 5 degree change. When we look at the chest rotation above, what do we have there? Well, we have 5 degrees open, okay? Below, we have basically 0, so a 5 degree difference. We look at the pelvis rotation above, 0.28, so basically 0. Let's keep it nice and simple again. And below, we have just under 4 degrees close. So definite changes in terms of the measuring of the orientation of the player due to the differing ball position. Well, let's have a look at top of backswing. So let's wind this player above up to the top of backswing. And again, this is their normal ball position above. Okay, and let's do the same below. And let's look and compare the top of backswing positions. Now let's look at that thoracic side bend again. 31.25 above, 31.46. Very little change. Thoracic in terms of the rotation, the chest rotation, 97.0 above, below 98.39. So maybe just over a degree. Our pelvis rotation, 60 degrees above, below 63, so only 3 degrees of change. So despite starting off in a very, very different orientation, they have found a similar-ish position at top of their backswing. Well, what about impact? Would that change? Well, again, impact's going to be influenced by where the golf club, or where the ball hits the golf club in this case, when the measurement systems would be triggered by impact. So we would expect to see some differences, and we definitely do. Kind of thoracic side bend, about 5 degrees difference. We look at the chest or thoracic rotation, 18 above, only 6 below, so 12 degree difference. And the pelvis rotation, 31 above and only 19 below. Now, what some might say is, okay, well, the club is obviously hitting the golf ball earlier in the swing. Therefore, these numbers would be explained by that. However, if we take this player below and we'll go back into the full swing action, and we'll take them back down to that impact spot again. Okay, it's just very, very slowly getting them back down to that impact around there somewhere. Now, if we looked at those numbers and said, yeah, that's the reason that these numbers are lower below is because the club and the golf ball are interacting earlier. Let's move that player further forward to a similar-ish position that the player above is at, even a little bit past. Now, we would expect, if that theory was correct, to see a pelvis rotation number equal to or above the player above, but we don't. Again, it's under. Again, we look at the chest rotation, again, under. The chest bend, or the thoracic side bend, kind of in a similar spot. But when we look at this in terms of this player in particular, moving that ball position back changes the orientation at setup, influenced by ball. The top of the backswing position doesn't really change. They find the same location. The system manages to locate the same positions where they should be. However, the ball then becomes another influence on the way back because it's earlier in the actual movement or earlier in the arc. So again, influences the numbers to a large extent throughout the golf ball. So just a really interesting perspective at how ball position can influence many, many things in the golf swing. However, it doesn't really seem to influence the top of the backswing position as much in this case.